When Delaware first implemented its estate tax back in 2009, the estimates were it would make $25 million a year. It has made nowhere close to that. And so if it doesn't make that much money, why have it? That's the question that Senator Gary Simpson from the 18th District in Milford, Delaware, many other areas other than Milford, but it represents Milford, is asking. So what were the numbers? This came in 2009. And it was expected to make $25 million for the state. It was at a time that the state was cash-strapped.
Right.
How was it done?
It was enacted with the thought that it would bring in $25 million to help reduce the budget deficit. The first full year in operation, it brought in $16.1 million. It then dropped down to $12 million. And then the following year, it dropped down to $5.3 million. Last year it was $1.3 million that it brought in.
Which is a pittance for the state.
It's a pittance. It's detracting from our attractiveness as a place for retirees to come to. Certainly a lot of folks are coming in for our tax advantages, but certainly they're not coming here for our death tax advantages. In fact, that's one of the states that I believe it was Forbes magazine said one of the 10 worst states to die in.
Is Delaware?
Is Delaware.
Let's back up. What is the reason that the numbers that are coming in for the estate tax keep going down every year?
We don't really know, but there's obviously not any less wealthy people dying in Delaware each year.
Well, are there? I mean, that's a good question. I mean, are they leaving to avoid the estate tax?
That's my opinion and others, that folks are leaving Delaware to avoid that kind of tax. The top tax rate on those individuals are 16%. That amounts to a lot of money. So it's not very difficult today to change your place of residence. There's 35 other states in the United States that do not have an estate tax. So it's easy to get out of Delaware for the certain amount of time that you have to claim your residency and go to somewhere else.
So you have legislation to do away with this, the estate tax?
I do.
And what kind of a shot does that have?
Well, I think certainly in a tight budget year, there's going to be folks that say we just can't give that kind of tax break. My contention is that it's actually costing the state more by having the estate tax than by not having it. When you have wealthy individuals leaving Delaware, you're not getting their personal income tax, not only this year, but for perhaps the next 10 or 20 years that they've left the state. I know that there was one tax attorney that had talked and said that he had 5 clients that each paid $50,000 a year in their personal income tax that had left the state. That's $250,000 right there that you've lost for 10, 20, 25 years perhaps. Now that's only one tax attorney. How about if we have 20 tax attorneys each losing 5 of those high-valued customers to other states? We're losing a lot of money in Delaware. We were perhaps a little bit greedy. We saw that 25 million number dangled in front of us, which never happened.
And by the way, let's point out in that original bill, it was supposed to end in 2013.
Absolutely.
And it was extended by the governor at that point. Now, there's analytics on everything these days. And so you would think the state would be able to prove how many people are leaving the state to avoid the estate tax. And yet the state claims we can't figure that out. There's no way to get that number. Are they doing that on purpose to keep the estate tax, do you think?
I don't know whether they're doing it on purpose or whether they just haven't thought of it.
Well, no, they're quoted in the newspaper, in the News Journal, saying that there's no way to get that information.
Well, I would think that the state knows perfectly well who's paying $50,000, $100,000 a year in personal income tax, and if the next year they don't see that money, I would think that they would be following up to make a call to that person to say, do you owe us this tax, or have you actually left Delaware?
And without that information, you can't prove your premise that the state's losing money. You would have to have that information to prove that, because other than that, it's just theory.
It's just theory. It's anecdotal. Obviously, the estate tax has gone from 16.1 million down to 1.3 million. Something's happening. I can't imagine that tax attorneys are that smart to be able to evade those taxes, legally evade, I might add, or whether folks are actually leaving Delaware. Obviously, there's no less wealthy people dying in Delaware each year unless they've left the state.
Senator Gary Simpson, appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Good luck down in Dover with your bill. I have a feeling we're going to see you back with the same bill until they can actually prove the money that is lost.
Thank you,
Senator
Larry.
Gary Simpson from the 18th Senatorial District in Milford, Delaware. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a new test that is connected to the core curriculum that is extremely controversial in Delaware. That's when we return.